not. That's definitely not something that's her. No.
Which sort of raises another issue because and with Trump pulling out of the climate accord this week, you saw a lot of mayors, a lot of governors, a lot of heads of industry, which, surprising that, Trump did this to make good with his base. But you look at the rich people, at, his peers in industry, so to speak, except these people have actually accomplished stuff. They are not backing him. They are opposed to pulling out of the climate accord. So there are some rich people out there that are willing to look at the long game and not just see short-term gain for their side as the end goal of our nation's policies. We are going to talk more about that and some of the other big issues of the week in just a minute. But right now it is time to give a little listen. Correspondent Will Durst, 5-time Emmy nominee, who brings us a burst of Durst every week. So tune in. Hey, how you doing, Will?
Hey, guys. Will Durst here with a few choice words about President Donald's unique personal style, which can best be described as lumbering and oafish. He's as graceful as a pile of crumbling cement blocks. Yes, our new chief executive is a blundering tank who is to antagonize the rest of the planet. Not just the other nations of the world, but Mother Earth herself. First, the real estate developer went to a NATO meeting and scolded its members. Then demonstrated how to put America first by shoving the Prime Minister of Montenegro out of the way so he could rush to the front of a photo shoot. After coming home, he was responsible for a midnight tweet that ended with the words, "Press Cov Fefi." Either he was rhapsodizing about making coffee with a French press, or spelled coverage wrong. He probably realized his mistake and tried to delete and correct the spelling, but his tiny little fingers betrayed him, and he ended up hitting send. We've all done it. Most of us would have deleted the tweet and started over. But President Orange Canopy not only left it up, he pretended he meant to say it, because he is incapable of admitting a mistake, ever. Not even a misspelled word. He's 12. Simply put, he tried to mess with us. The President of the United States tried to mess with the country over a typo. Then he messed with the planet by announcing he was pulling America out of the Paris Climate Accord, obviously following through on his promise to make America Jurassic again. Some liberals fear this is part of a long-term GOP plan to encourage global warming so rising ocean waters flood California coastline cities and the state's electoral votes turn reliably red. But maybe when the president said that he doesn't want other countries laughing at us anymore, what he really meant is he's ready to step down. For Let's Be Treasonable, I'm Will Durst.
Thank you very much, Will.
Hey, guys.
Well, hey, there we go. Covfefe.
Covfefe. It's permanently in our lexicon.
Yeah. I think, the one fun thing about a Trump presidency is that, we're experiencing history. Isn't this cool?
We'll tell our grandchildren, well, I won't have children, but someone else's grandchildren one day, where we were.
We lived in a pre-Covfefe world.
When we first saw the word Covfefe.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. There's going to be T-shirts that say Covfefe. There's going to be girls wearing pants with Covfefe on the butt. Because this is going to be a thing.
Covfefe, it's going to mean anytime you do something stupid.
Oh, my God.
And the fact that he's trying to defend it, oh, my God, it's so crazy. We really have a president who's 12.
He's like an 8-year-old.
I was going to say, I think Will was spot on, except for his just blatant insult to 12-year-olds.
I know, right?
Poor 12, they don't deserve that. No. Why do we keep insulting 12-year-olds by comparing them to 12?
This is like a 5-year-old. 12 is too generous.
12 is the new 5.
Oh, what happened? Everybody has that picture of
Roman
a toddler.
Polanski said that.
Right. Everyone has that picture of a toddler that got into some kind of mess, like they got peanut butter on them, or like a giant thing of baby powder all over them, and then the parents like, "What happened?" And they're like, "I don't know." This is that.
Did you cover yourself with powder? No. How'd it get on you? I don't know.
It's like the family circus. I don't know. Yeah, They are now living in the White House, which
thing.
is frightening. Well, speaking of, Will had mentioned that Trump said he doesn't want the world laughing at us anymore. And
You should stop tweeting.
well, I think
just
Will
disappear.
like to step down. Yeah, like Will said. But sometimes the world does not laugh, as we witnessed with Kathy Griffin this week.
Oh, God.
Before the show about some social media interaction you've had over a joke lately, Kat. If you have been living under the proverbial rock, Kathy Griffin did a photo shoot this week in which she posed with a artistic depiction of the decapitated head of Donald Trump. Raja and I were talking before the show. I've never been a big Kathy Griffin fan. But, so to say that she lost my respect throughout this whole incident would be a bit of a stretch. But what respect I did have for her as a performer and a fellow comedian, I did lose when she apologized. I have no issue with the. Do I think it was over the line? But when looking at things like this, as a comedian who goes political, my usual line of thought is, would I be upset if someone did this with Obama? And the answer is yeah, I would. So would I do this? Probably not. I certainly wouldn't rule it out, but I definitely defend her right to do it. But as we were talking before the show, you do something like this, you have to be prepared to deal with the repercussions. Kat, you weren't there when Raja and I were talking about it, so sorry, listeners, I already know what Raja thinks. We'll get to that in a minute.
And David is the only person that matters.
No, I'm just
kidding.
Kat, what were your thoughts on the whole Kathy Griffin thing?
Thing is, I think there's political humor and commentary, and that's all great, and never apologize for a joke, for sure. But this, A, it wasn't a joke, and B, it was kind of a violent depiction. And like you said, it wasn't okay with Obama. It shouldn't be okay with Trump, and also it was still like so gory and violent. If she had held up like a puppet head, like something that was clearly silly, and then it would have been like, oh yeah, that's a joke. But it was like a legitimately gory, somewhat realistic looking head. So it felt more like a serious statement, and I could see how it could be interpreted as a threat. Now, for the Secret Service to like go and investigate her as if she's actually trying to like encourage
white
people,
lady's never going to actually do anything. Come on,
no,
she's not a threat.
That's not a threat. That's ridiculous.
There's no danger.
She should have known better, though. She should have known
It was
this
a
would
bad
have been a
choice.
bad idea. She should have known. She's a grown lady. She can't blame being young. I'm not looking forward
But
to
I-
getting
you
old
know-
because I won't have any excuses anymore.
Well,
She's no excuse.
if you were a Republican older white male, you could blame youthful indiscretion well into your 40s and 50s.
To be 100
as
years
some of
old,
them
I'm just a man. My penis made me do
But
it.
I think on one level, as a Game of Thrones fan, I was offended by the photo shoot and that it elevated Trump to Ned Stark status. And Ned Stark was a great leader to the likes of which Trump will never reach. He may aspire, but will never. So I was offended by the photo shoot in that respect. But her apology is what really
She was
offended
groveling,
me.
wasn't she?
Well, it wasn't just the nature and the groveling. It's the fact that she refused to stand by her actions. A few years back, when I was working at the Playboy Mansion, I was one of Hugh Hefner's assistants, and he went to New York for the Comedy Central roast of Hugh Hefner. And this was a time when he was barely like leaving he was going out in LA a few nights a week, but he wasn't going to Cannes, and all the international travel he's been doing like over the last 10 years. Thing that he was going to New York, especially because it was shortly after 9/11. And Gilbert Gottfried did a 9/11 joke at the roast and got soundly booed by the audience. And rather than apologizing and groveling, he just went into the most like over the top rendition of the Aristocrats, which is just a legendary, disgusting joke that is changed by each teller. If you haven't seen the documentary on the Aristocrats, definitely do. It's one of those things way too long to get into now, but he owned it. It was like, oh, you think that's offensive? Here's what's really offensive. And I think if Kathy Griffin, and I mean, of course, we're all comedians, we can all armchair quarterback this, but if Kathy Griffin had come out and said, oh, you think that's offensive, what's really offensive is what Trump is doing to the environment, what he's doing to women's rights, what he's doing for human rights. That's what you should be offended by, not a taking a picture with a depiction of a beheaded president.
Amen. Amen.
That's what's really offensive.
She should have done
And honestly, it's using his head for anything.
Could you write Kathy Griffin's speeches in the future?
Kathy Griffin, if by any chance you hear this, you are invited to come on this show and suffer for a brief moment while I dress you down about apologizing. But you got a forum here.
I'll tell you what I found really offensive about that whole thing. I think she acted within her rights. I don't think it was immoral or illegal what she did. What I found offensive about it is how boring it was. I feel like I get so irritated by people like her who think they're being edgy and they're just being boring. So you have a decapitated head. Everyone wants to be you at that moment. You know what I mean? Like, no, but it's just boring. And the reason why I say it's so boring is because it's this fake, like, idealized call to revolution. Some revolution she'll never be involved in. Because when it first came out, and I saw it, and I was like, what is the point? This is like a statement made by someone who really has nothing to say.
Yeah.
Because there's no real point. There's no, like, epiphany. There's like, where's the punchline? I don't get it, right? It's not like there were those, like, Trump pinatas. That was hilarious. It was in reaction to something specific. There was a joke. So I honestly thought it was boring.
Except the difference is the Trump pinatas were actually filled with substance, with candy. Trump himself, there is no substance there.
Yeah. But I just felt like the statement itself was basic and vanilla, so I thought this was like it was just kind of like this rich white lady shit where you do something inconsequential but want credit for it. I thought I was like, oh, Kathy Griffin's a badass, but she's not a badass. She's a woman who got to pay for a photo shoot. That's how I saw it. And then on top of that, I feel like when she first got criticized for it, she was like, I'm not going to apologize. Then as soon as she lost a couple of shows, she started apologizing. She didn't care that she hurt anyone's feelings. She was like, oh, my money. So it's like, what you're trying to make this revolutionary statement with this picture. What revolution are you going to take part of that as soon as you lose a little money, you're going to literally grovel?
Yeah, Gil Scott-Heron famously said the revolution will not be televised. Yeah, and as we're learning, there are a lot of people that are now saying, well, if it's not going to be on TV, I really don't have the time to take part.
If the revolution happens, she's not going to be out there. It's going to be poor women out there, women who don't have her privilege,
people
indigenous
will never
women
be recognized.
Out there, people who will never get credit, but she'll get that. So I feel like she was trying to get this like HuffPo feminist attention, and it backfired on her. And then she groveled.
You know what reveals that you're so right is the fact that she didn't give the apology you're talking about, where she says, this is what's really disgusting. No, because there wasn't anything behind it. It was empty.
It was boring.
It's like boring. When Dan Quayle was bitching about Murphy Brown. You guys can Google this. Is back from my days.
We're not that young, David.
Oh, I am.
I know this because my parents loved Murphy Brown when I was growing up, so they were very.
A fictional TV character who she played by Candice Bergen. She was a reporter anchor on like a 2020 type show, and the character had a baby, unmarried, and the vice president took it upon himself to say that this was a horrible example of sorry, I'm losing words. I feel like Dan Quayle now. But that basically she was a negative role model.
Yeah, like ruining family values.
Yeah, it just became a whole thing. It's a comedian taking a fucking picture. Yeah. You know what? If anyone decides to publish it, you don't like it, turn the page. This is not going to affect your life one way or another.
One thing I don't agree with, though, is that now she's trying to claim victimhood in it. She's not a victim. I think she was within her rights. I defend her right. I think anyone who's saying, "Go, let's deport her, let's arrest her," you're an idiot. Get a life and learn what the laws are in this country. She has the freedom of speech. She has the freedom of expression. I defend her.